The twin suns were setting over the alien city of Vereen, painting the metal towers in gold and blue. The streets buzzed with strange voices, hover carts, and bright signs written in symbols Evan could barely read. His boots were torn, his jacket patched in 3 places, and his stomach had not felt food for a day. But what hurt most was the thought of his mother, lying sick back on Earth, waiting for a medicine he couldn't afford. Evan had come to this world hoping to find work, any work. But humans weren't welcome here anymore. Every shop he passed turned cold when he asked for a job. Some aliens whispered behind him. Others spat on the ground. Human, they said like it was a curse. The wind carried the smell of metal and smoke as he wandered into an older part of the city. The buildings were cracked, lights flickering. He slowed his steps when a soft glow caught his eye. A flickering hollow sign hung above a small doorway, half covered in dust. The letters blinked in rough translation. Workers wanted. Payment immediate. Evan's heart jumped. Finally a chance. He stepped closer, brushing the dirt off the sign. But before he could knock on the metal door, a voice spoke behind him, soft, almost musical. You are human? He turned fast. Standing near the corner was a small alien girl, no older than 10 by his guess. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver, and her large, bright violet eyes reflected the dying sunlight. She held a woven basket close to her chest, her long hair tied with a strip of metal cloth. Evan blinked, surprised. Most aliens avoided humans, but this one was staring straight at him. Yeah, he said slowly. I'm looking for work. Is this your place? She didn't answer. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him. You need money? He nodded. For my mother. She's sick. Medicine's expensive. The girl looked at him for a moment longer, then glanced around the street as if checking for watchers. Come, she said quietly. Before someone sees you. Evan hesitated. Something felt off. Why was a child running a workshop? But desperation beat doubt. He followed her through the metal doorway. Inside, the air was heavy with oil and electricity. Broken machines filled the room. Half-built drones, engine parts, glowing tubes of energy. Sparks flickered from a table where strange alien tools lay scattered. The place looked abandoned for years. The girl walked ahead, placing her basket on a counter. From it, she pulled out small glass orbs filled with blue light. Fuel cells. She placed them carefully into a machine that hummed weakly. Evan spoke first. You said workers wanted. What kind of work? The girl turned to him, her face calm but serious. My name is Lyra. I need help fixing my father's machine. He is gone. I can't finish it alone. Gone? Evan frowned. Like dead? She looked down. Taken, the guards came 2 nights ago. They said he broke the rules, helping humans. The words hit Evan like a stone. Helping humans was a crime here. No wonder she was hiding. He rubbed his hands together nervously. I don't know much about alien tech. Lyra walked to a large round device in the center of the workshop. It looked like a metallic heart, with tubes and lights pulsing faintly. You have hands. You can hold things. And you are strong. Evan gave a weak laugh. That's one way to say desperate. Lyra didn't smile. She pointed at the device. It's important. It helps people. My father said it could heal. Evan's eyes widened. Heal like medicine? She nodded. It makes sick bodies well again. But I don't know how to start it. He took a deep breath, stepping closer to inspect the machine. Symbols lined the sides, and the design looked part human, part alien. Maybe her father really did work with humans once. All right, he said finally. I'll help. What do I do? Before Lyra could answer, a sudden bang echoed from outside. Both of them froze. Lyra whispered, Guards. Evan's heart raced. He looked toward the window. Silhouettes moved in the street, tall figures in armor scanning the area with glowing visors. Why are they here? He hissed. Lyra's voice shook. They are looking for humans. There is a reward. Evan clenched his fists. His one chance at work gone before it even started. He turned toward the door, ready to run, but Lyra grabbed his sleeve. Her hand trembled. Please, she said softly. Don't go. I can hide you. Just help me fix it first. If we finish this machine, maybe your mother won't need money anymore. Her words stopped him cold. Outside, the guard's footsteps grew louder. Inside, the workshop glowed faintly from the half-alive machine, casting blue light across her worried face. Evan looked at her, then at the door, then back again. In that moment, something shifted inside him. Maybe this was his chance, not just to work, but to make something right. He took a slow breath. "Okay, Lyra," he said quietly. "Show me what to do." Lyra's eyes lit up with relief. She ran to a workbench, pulling tools from a drawer and handing him a wrench that hummed with energy. "Hold this," she said, pointing to a glowing panel. "When I say connect the wire." Evan crouched beside her, hands shaking slightly. He'd fixed old ship engines before, but nothing like this. Sparks flew as they worked side by side. The hum of the machine grew louder, steadier, almost alive. Outside, voices shouted orders. The guards were getting closer. Lyra whispered, "Just a little more." Evan tightened one last bolt. The machine gave a soft pulse, its lights flaring brighter. Then the sound of boots echoed just beyond the door. Lyra's eyes widened. "They're here." Evan turned toward her. "Then we hide now." And as the door creaked open, the workshop filled with the eerie blue light of the awakened machine, casting their shadows against the walls like two ghosts caught between fear and hope. The metal door slammed shut behind them as Lyra pulled Evan into a narrow hallway lit by dim green tubes. The hum of the machine still echoed faintly in the distance like a heartbeat trapped in steel. Evan breathed hard, his back pressed to the cold wall. He had been on dangerous worlds before, but hiding in an alien child's workshop while soldiers hunted humans felt like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. Lyra held a finger to her lips. Her glowing eyes darted toward the shadows as heavy boots stomped past the door. The guards' muffled voices carried through the walls, sharp, mechanical, and cruel. Sector 6 clear. No humans detected. Move to next block. When their footsteps finally faded, Lyra let out a shaky breath and turned to Evan. "They'll come again. They always do." Evan wiped the sweat from his forehead. "What do they want?" "Just humans?" She nodded. "They say humans bring trouble. They say you are dangerous," he laughed bitterly. "I'm dangerous because I'm broke and trying to save my mother?" Lyra's expression didn't change. To them, that's enough. She led him deeper inside. The hall opened into another chamber, a smaller workshop filled with floating screens, wires, and strange glowing stones. In the center sat the large round machine they'd worked on earlier. Its lights now pulsed faintly, stronger than before. Lyra walked around it, inspecting every cable and bolt. Her hands moved with precision, too skilled for her age. Evan watched in silence, curiosity growing. "So," he said finally, "what exactly is this thing? You said it heals?" Lyra nodded, touching one of the panels softly. "My father called it the ether core. It takes the sickness out of the body. No medicine, no pain. He made it for everyone, humans, aliens, all races." Evan frowned. "Then why would they take him?" "Because he gave it to the wrong people first," she whispered. "To humans. The council said healing humans was a waste. They said humans don't belong here." Her voice cracked, and for a moment she looked like a normal, frightened child. Evan felt a tightness in his chest. He thought of his mother again, her coughs, her pale hands clutching his picture. He stepped closer to the machine. "If we fix it, will it really work?" Lyra's eyes lifted to meet his. "It has to." They spent the next few hours working side by side. Lyra explained the parts slowly, using simple words so he could follow. She had learned much from her father's notes, pages filled with strange equations and drawings. Evan wasn't an engineer, but his hands were steady, his focus sharp. Every spark, every hum felt like a small heartbeat of hope. At one point, Lyra climbed onto the machine to reach a top panel, her silver hair catching the blue glow. "Hold the wire steady," she said. Evan steadied it, watching as her fingers moved quickly, connecting threads of energy. "You're really good at this," he said. She glanced at him briefly. "Father taught me. He said one day I'd need to fix things when no one else could." He smiled faintly. Looks like he was right. Lyra didn't smile back.
"He also said humans never give up."
He said one saved him once, long ago. That made Evan pause. "A human saved him?" "Yes," she said softly. "That's why he trusted your kind. He said humans have fire in their hearts." Evan didn't know what to say. He'd never thought of humans as heroes. Most were just people trying to survive. Yet here, in this strange place, a little alien girl believed in that idea more than anyone he'd ever met. As they worked, the lights of the ether core grew brighter. The air in the room felt warmer, almost alive. Energy rippled through the floor like a quiet heartbeat. Then suddenly, crack! A burst of blue light shot from one of the panels, knocking Evan back a step. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Lyra screamed, jumping down. "No, the stabilizer, it's broken again." Evan coughed, waving away the smoke. "What did I do?" "Nothing," she said, rushing to the other side. "It's old, too old. The energy leaks every time." She slammed a small tool on the floor in frustration. "Without a human energy key, it can't balance." Evan blinked. "A what?" Lyra hesitated. "The machine was made for both of us, human and alien energy together. My father said that's what makes it pure. That's why he needed humans." Evan's mind raced. "And now there's only me." Lyra looked up slowly, her violet eyes glowing in the dim room. "Yes, only you." Silence filled the air. The hum of the broken machine echoed softly like a dying heartbeat. Evan glanced toward the door. He could still leave. He could disappear before the guards came back. But his mother's face wouldn't leave his mind. And neither would Lyra's, a child trying to finish her father's dream, alone. He sighed. "All right," he said finally. "Show me what you need." Lyra stared at him for a moment, then gave a small nod. "We'll fix it, together." She handed him a glowing metal rod, faintly warm to the touch. "You'll hold this when I start the energy flow. Don't let go no matter what." Evan tightened his grip. "Sounds dangerous," Lyra's voice softened. "It is. But so is hope." As she climbed back up the machine, Evan watched her silhouette against the blue light. Small, determined, unshaken. Outside, distant thunder rolled through the metal sky. And for the first time in weeks, Evan felt something he hadn't felt since leaving Earth. Purpose. The storm outside rolled like a beast across the sky. Blue lightning flashed through the cracks in the ceiling, filling the workshop with bursts of light and shadow. Evan sat on the floor, his arms aching from holding the glowing rod for hours. The ether core pulsed slowly beside him, alive but unstable. Lyra stood near the main console, her small hands working with quiet focus. Sweat glistened on her silver skin, and the faint hum of energy surrounded her like a halo. She looked too young to carry such heavy responsibility, yet every movement was precise, controlled, and filled with purpose. Evan finally spoke, breaking the long silence. "You keep saying your father made this to help people. But why was he taken? Why would they arrest someone for building something that heals?" Lyra didn't look up. "Because the council doesn't want healing to be free. They sell medicine. They control who lives and who dies." Her voice trembled at the edges, though she tried to hide it. Evan frowned, anger mixing with confusion. So they'd rather people die than lose profit? Lyra stopped working. Slowly she turned toward him, her violet eyes darkened with grief. "They don't just sell medicine, Evan, they sell hope. My father said the moment hope becomes business, it stops being hope." Her words hit deep. Evan had seen the same on Earth, corporations turning sickness into gold, charging desperate families for cures. He clenched his fists. "And now they've taken him because he cared too much." Lyra nodded. "He helped humans. That was his final mistake." The silence that followed was heavy. The only sound was the rhythmic pulse of the machine, beating like a heart that refused to die. Evan leaned back against a broken console, studying her. "Lyra, how long have you been alone?" She hesitated. "Since they came for him." 3 cycles. He didn't know what that meant in Earth time. But from the sadness in her eyes, he guessed it was long enough to feel endless. He looked around the room again, at the scattered blueprints. The burnt cables, the drawings on the wall, one caught his eye. A simple sketch of a smiling alien man standing beside a human soldier. The two held hands, light connecting them. Underneath, written in shaky alien script, were the words, "Together we heal." Evan's throat tightened. "That was your father's drawing?" Lyra nodded. "He said the future belongs to both of us. Humans have heart. We have mind. Together we can fix the universe." She touched the paper gently, her fingers trembling. "But the council calls him a traitor. They erased his name from the records. I'm not even allowed to say it anymore." Evan stood and stepped closer. "Then say it anyway. He deserves to be remembered." Lyra looked up at him. The stormlight flickered across her face. His name was Kale. The moment she spoke it, the ether core flickered as if responding to the sound. A faint tone vibrated through the air, like the machine recognized the name too. Evan's eyes widened. "Did you see that?" Lyra nodded slowly. "It remembers him, maybe. It's waiting for him." He knelt beside the glowing engine, feeling its warmth through his hands. Then we'll finish what he started. For him and for your people. But before Lyra could respond, a sharp noise broke the calm. A red light blinked on the wall. A motion sensor. Lyra's head snapped up. They found us. Evan stood scanning the room. The guards? She ran to a side panel and pressed her hand against it. The wall shifted, revealing a hidden tunnel lined with dim blue lights. We have to move. They can't find the core, Evan hesitated. What about your father's work? Lyra grabbed a small data crystal from the console and stuffed it into her pocket. It's all in here. His notes. His designs. She looked back at him, fear and fire mixing in her eyes. But the machine must stay. It's too heavy to move. If they destroy it, everything is lost, Evan clenched his jaw. Then we protect it. Lyra shook her head fiercely. No, you don't understand. If they find you here, they'll kill you first. They hate humans. Please, come with me. The sound of metal boots echoed closer. The hallway outside was alive with shouts. Evan looked between the glowing core and the terrified girl. His mind raced. Running meant safety, but abandoning this machine meant betraying everything her father had built. Lyra pulled his arm. Evan, please. He took one last look at the ether core, its light pulsing like a living heart calling to him. Then he made his choice. He grabbed a steel bar from the floor and stood in front of the main door. Go, Lyra, take the tunnel. I'll hold them off. Her eyes filled with tears. You can't fight them. He smiled faintly. You said humans never give up, right? For a moment, she just stared at him. Then she nodded, her voice breaking. You sound like my father. As she disappeared into the tunnel, Evan turned toward the door. The red light above it flared bright. The first explosion shook the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Evan gripped the bar tighter, his heart steady despite the chaos. The door blew open. Guards in dark armor stormed inside, weapons glowing. Evan took a deep breath and whispered under his breath, Together, we heal. Then he charged forward. The explosion threw metal shards across the room. Smoke filled the air, glowing blue from the light of the ether core. Evan hit the ground hard, rolling behind a table as the first guard stepped through the doorway. Their armor shimmered black, their faces hidden behind glass masks that glowed with scanning lights. Target detected. A mechanical voice barked. Human signature confirmed. Evan's heart pounded in his chest. He glanced at the tunnel entrance, already sealed shut. Lyra was gone. Good. She was safe. He grabbed a loose steel rod and ducked as a plasma shot burned through the wall above him. Sparks rained down. He could smell melted metal. The guards moved like shadows, fast and silent, weapons humming with deadly energy. He had no gun, no armor. Nothing but a piece of steel and his will to survive. The ether core pulsed violently behind him, reacting to the chaos. Every time the guards fired, it responded, its light flashing like lightning, its hum growing louder, deeper, angrier. Evan took a deep breath. He waited until one guard stepped closer, then swung the rod with all his strength. The blow cracked against the guard's helmet, sending sparks across the floor. The alien stumbled, giving Evan just enough time to grab the fallen blaster and dive behind another console. Suppressive fire, one shouted. Blue plasma bolts tore through the air, blasting holes in the machines. The workshop turned into a storm of fire and smoke. Evan fired back, barely aiming, just enough to keep them from advancing. He knew he couldn't win, but maybe he could buy Lyra more time. He thought of his mother, her weak smile, her voice whispering, "Come back safe." Evan. That memory fueled him more than fear ever could. Then the ether core screamed. A wave of blue light burst outward, knocking everyone to the ground. The guards shouted in confusion as their scanners glitched. The core wasn't breaking, it was awakening. Evan's ears rang. Through the haze, he saw something strange. The machine's energy tendrils stretched toward him, wrapping around his arm like light made of water. For a moment, he felt weightless, connected. The machine knew him. It recognized the human energy Lyra had mentioned. One of the guards roared, pointing at him. The human's interfacing. Stop him. Bolts of plasma seared through the air. Evan rolled aside as one hit the core. The light turned red, the hum rising into a shriek. Then the floor split open. The energy blast tore through the foundation, sending dust and debris into the air. Evan fell into darkness, crashing through pipes and cables until he landed hard on a metal platform below. For a moment, everything was silent except for his ragged breathing. Then he heard it, soft footsteps. Evan! Lyra's voice echoed through the tunnels. He looked up. Through the smoke, he saw her small figure running toward him, carrying a flickering lantern. Relief washed over him. "You're alive," she gasped, kneeling beside him. "Barely," he muttered, wincing. "Your machine doesn't like being shot." Lyra looked up at the cracked ceiling. "The guards are still above. They'll follow." Evan pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "Then we move now." She nodded and led him deeper into the tunnels. The passage was narrow, filled with dripping pipes and glowing fungus that lit the way with soft blue light. The air smelled of rust and ozone. As they ran, Evan noticed faded murals on the walls. Paintings of humans and aliens working side by side, building cities, planting trees. The same words appeared again and again. "Together we heal." Lyra caught him looking. "This place was built by my father's friends," she said. "They believed in his dream, but the council erased it all. They reached a metal gate sealed with alien locks." Lyra placed her hand on a panel and the gate opened with a low hiss. On the other side stretched an enormous underground chamber. It was filled with abandoned machines, old energy tubes, and a massive river of liquid light flowing beneath glass floors. The sight stole Evan's breath. "What is this place?" he whispered. Lyra's voice softened. "The first lab, where my father made the core. The council never found it." Evan stared in awe. "So this is where it began," she nodded. "And where we finish it." Before he could answer, a distant explosion shook the walls. The guards were blasting their way through the tunnels. Lyra hurried to a console covered in dust. "I can link the upper core to this one," she said quickly. "If we do it right, the energy will move underground. They won't be able to destroy it." Evan joined her, helping reconnect the wires. The hum returned, soft, rhythmic, alive. Then a deep roar echoed through the tunnel. Heavy footsteps. The guards had found the entrance. Lyra's hands trembled. "We're out of time." Evan gritted his teeth. "Then we finish it now." The lights flickered as the core activated again. Streams of energy raced through the tunnels, linking the two machines like glowing veins. The hum grew louder, brighter, until it felt like the air itself was alive. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's working!" But before they could celebrate, a blast shook the ground. One of the guards dropped from above, landing between them. Weapon raised, Evan didn't hesitate. He threw himself at the guard, tackling him into the river of light. Both vanished beneath the glowing surface. Lyra screamed, running to the edge. The river boiled with energy. Then from the depths, Evan's hand broke through the surface, his skin glowing with the same blue light as the core. He gasped for air, his eyes burning with determination. "Lyra!" he shouted. "Don't stop! Finish it!" And as the light wrapped around him, spreading through his veins, Lyra turned back to the console, tears streaking her silver cheeks. She pressed the final key. The tunnels shook, the core roared to life, and the healing light began to spread. The glowing river roared beneath the old lab like a living storm. Every drop shimmered with the same blue light that came from the ether core above. Lyra's hands trembled on the console as she tried to hold the power flow steady. Sparks jumped from the wires, lighting her face with flashes of blue and white. "Evan!" she shouted. "Get out of there!" He was still half submerged in the river of light, gripping a floating beam to keep himself from being pulled under. The energy crawled across his skin like fire and lightning mixed together. His veins glowed faintly blue. He was breathing hard, eyes wide with pain and something else, connection. "I can feel it," he shouted back. "It's alive." Lyra stared at him, heart pounding. "The core is merging with you." "That's not safe." Evan shook his head. "It's reacting to me, Lyra. You said it needs both human and alien energy." Her voice broke. "It will kill you." The roar of the river drowned their words for a moment. Evan looked around, seeing flashes of his memories. His mother's gentle smile, his childhood home, the stars over Earth. All of it fading behind the blinding blue light. He gritted his teeth. "If this is what it takes to finish your father's dream, then so be it." Lyra ran to the edge of the platform, tears streaking her silver cheeks. No, there must be another way. But deep down, she already knew the truth. Her father had told her that the core needed a perfect balance, human sacrifice and alien will. Without it, the system could never stabilize. It wasn't just a machine. It was a bridge between worlds built with life itself. Evan pushed himself onto the platform, his clothes soaked and his body glowing faintly from within. He stumbled but didn't fall. What happens if we don't finish it? Lyra turned away. The city dies. The air, the water. Everything will break down. The council used my father's early designs to control the energy grid. Without the core, the system collapses. Evan nodded slowly. Then I don't have a choice. Lyra's small hands clenched into fists. You always have a choice. Humans always choose to fight. Evan looked at her with a soft, tired smile. Then this is my fight. He stepped toward the console. The lights flickered in response as if recognizing him. The hum of the core turned deep and rhythmic, matching the beating of his heart. Lyra grabbed his arm. If you do this, you won't survive. The energy will burn through you. Evan placed his hand gently on her shoulder. If I don't, everyone else dies, including my mother. You said your father believed humans never give up. Let's prove him right. Lyra's lip trembled. You sound like him. Evan smiled faintly. Then maybe that's a good thing. He moved to the center of the lab where a glowing circle marked the energy bridge, a place meant for two beings to stand. One alien, one human. He stepped into it, the light instantly climbing up his body. It pulsed through his veins, connecting him to the machine, to Lyra, to the entire city above. Lyra hesitated for only a second before stepping in beside him. Her silver skin began to glow brighter, her eyes reflecting the same blue energy. Together they looked like two halves of one soul. The core's voice filled the chamber, a deep hum like 1,000 heartbeats combined. The walls trembled. The air shimmered. Synchronization detected. Human and Virene energy aligned. Lyra gasped. It's working. Evan's vision blurred. Every nerve burned, but he refused to let go. Do it, Lyra. Complete the cycle. She raised her hands, channeling energy into the console. Streams of light twisted around them, rising toward the ceiling. The ether core above responded, its heart flaring to life. Outside, the city's lights flickered and then shone brighter than ever before. The toxic smog faded. The sick in the hospitals began to breathe easier. The rivers turned clear again. Life returned to Virene and to Earth through the energy link the core was built to reach. Lyra's voice shook. It's healing the world. Evan smiled weakly, his strength fading. Told you. Humans don't give up. She turned to him and saw that his body was beginning to dissolve into light. His form flickered like smoke in the wind, his eyes calm and peaceful. No, she cried, grabbing his hand. You can't leave. Evan's voice was soft, fading with the light. Keep your father's dream alive. Tell them humans weren't the monsters they thought. Lyra held his glowing hand tight, sobbing. I promise. And with that, his form dissolved completely, his energy merging into the core. The machine let out one final pulse of brilliant blue light that spread across the horizon, reaching every corner of the city, every sick soul, every broken system. Then silence. The storm was gone. The light dimmed. The hum faded into a soft rhythm, like a heartbeat still echoing inside the machine. Lyra stood alone, the tears on her face glowing faintly under the blue light. She placed her hand over her heart and whispered, Together, we heal. The light of the ether core faded into a soft, steady glow. The storm that had raged above the city was gone, replaced by calm skies and silver clouds drifting quietly over Virene. The streets were silent, every tower shining faint blue from the healing wave that had swept across the planet. For the first time in years, the city breathed peace. But deep below in the old underground lab, Lyra stood frozen in the afterglow of the sacrifice. Her hands were still raised, her body trembling. The circle where she and Evan had stood together was now empty. Only a shimmer of blue dust remained where he had been moments before. The silence was unbearable. She took a weak step forward and whispered, Evan? Her voice cracked and echoed softly off the metal walls. No answer came, only the faint hum of the ether core above, alive, complete and eternal. Lyra sank to her knees, tears streaking her silver cheeks. Her father's dream had come true, but the cost was too heavy to bear. The boy who had believed in her, the human who had fought beside her, was gone. Her small hands touched the floor, still warm from the energy release. The core's glow reflected in her wet eyes. You said humans never give up, she whispered. You were right. For a moment, the core pulsed softly, almost like it had heard her. The glow brightened for a heartbeat, casting her shadow across the walls. Lyra looked up, startled. The core's light formed shapes in the air, patterns like memories, images of Evan smiling, his hands on the machine, his voice saying, "Together, we heal." Her tears came harder. "You're still here," she whispered. "A part of you stayed." The machine hummed gently in response. The energy flowing through it had changed. It was no longer alien or human. It was both, balanced, whole. Lyra stood slowly, wiping her tears. The console still flickered, showing readings across every system. The healing energy had spread far beyond the city, through the planetary gates into nearby colonies across worlds that had once fought each other. The core had connected them all. She placed her hand on the control panel. "Father," she said softly, "you wanted peace between our kinds. He gave it to us." She turned as a distant rumble echoed through the tunnels. The walls shook, dust falling from the ceiling. A sharp metallic screech followed. The council's recovery teams were arriving. Lyra's expression hardened. She could hear their shouts and the clank of armor. "They'll come to take it," she muttered. "They'll come to erase him." Her small fingers tightened on the console. Not again. The old lab had defenses. Her father had built them for moments like this. Lyra rushed to the control station, pressing ancient buttons and unlocking panels that hadn't been touched in years. The doors sealed, the pathways collapsed, and the entire chamber began to sink deeper into the earth. The guards' voices grew faint above her. "Stop her. The core must be secured." Lyra closed her eyes. "No, the core must be protected." She opened the main control interface. The glowing data crystal, the one that held her father's blueprints, was still in her pocket. She placed it into the slot beside the core's heart. Instantly, the machine projected a hologram into the air. A man with kind eyes and silver hair. Her father's final message. "Lyra," the hologram said gently. "If you're watching this, it means the core is alive. That means you succeeded." Her breath caught. "Father, I told you," the hologram continued. "The core was never meant to belong to one race. It belongs to everyone. It runs on two energies, compassion and courage. If a human helped you finish it, then I was right about them." Lyra covered her mouth, tears streaming again. Her father's image smiled. "Keep it safe, my daughter. Protect it from greed. Let it remind every world that healing begins with sacrifice." Then the message faded. The light dimmed, leaving her standing in silence once more. She turned to the core. "You heard him. It's your turn now." The machine pulsed softly, almost like it was breathing. Lyra placed her hand on the surface. "I'll keep you safe. I'll tell them your story. I'll tell them about the human who gave his life to save us all." The walls shuddered again, but she didn't move. She stayed there until the last vibration faded, until the chamber finally sealed itself, deep, silent, and unreachable. When she finally stepped out of the tunnels hours later, the city above had changed. People stood in the streets staring at their hands, feeling the strength returning to their bodies. The sick were healed. The old could breathe again. Even the sky looked cleaner, brighter. And in the center of the city square, where the Workers' Wanted sign once hung, a new symbol had appeared, etched into the metal ground by the final pulse of the core. "Together, we heal." Lyra looked up at it, her heart aching and proud all at once. She whispered softly. He kept his promise. The wind carried her words through the streets, past the towers, and into the clouds where faint streaks of blue light still danced, like the last trace of a human spirit watching over the world he saved. The next dawn over Vereen was unlike any in living memory. The sky glowed a calm shade of silver blue, and the air that once carried dust and smoke now shimmered with warmth. The city's towers, once gray and lifeless, reflected soft light like crystal mirrors. The healing wave from the ether core had touched every living thing. For the first time in generations, the people of Vereen awoke without fear or pain. Lyra walked through the quiet streets, her small boots echoing softly on the clean metal paths. Everywhere she looked, people were gathering. Vereen and human settlers alike, confused, whispering, staring at their healed hands in the bright sky. The sickness that had plagued them for years was gone. The faint blue mark of the core's energy pulsed gently on their skin like a shared heartbeat. No one knew how it happened. No one except her. Lyra stopped at the edge of the city square. The place looked different now. The old Workers' Wanted sign still stood, half broken and dusty, but now beneath it, the ground glowed faintly with a new mark burned into the steel. The words shimmered softly. Together we heal. Her breath caught as she touched the letters. The words still hummed faintly, carrying the warmth of the core and of Evan. Humans, someone whispered nearby, their voice trembling. They said humans caused the fall of Virene. But if that's true, why are we alive today? Lyra turned and saw a small crowd forming, humans and aliens alike. The hatred that once separated them had faded, replaced by confusion, awe, and quiet gratitude. She could see the questions in their eyes, the same ones she had once asked her father. She took a deep breath, feeling Evan's presence in the wind. Then she stepped forward. "It wasn't the council who saved you," she said softly, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "It was a human." The crowd fell silent. She lifted her chin. "He came here looking for work to save his sick mother. He had nothing, but when he found the core, he didn't run. He stayed, he fought. And when the world needed him most, he gave his life so that all of us could live." An older Virene man stepped forward, his eyes wide. "Why would a human do that? We treated them like outcasts." Lyra looked up at the shining sky. "Because he believed kindness matters more than hate. Because he saw me not as an alien but as a child who needed help. My father always said humans never give up, and Evan proved it." The man bowed his head. Others followed. The silence turned to respect, then to quiet tears. By evening, word of the story had spread across Virene. The people gathered materials and began to build something new in the square, a monument simple and beautiful. Lyra helped shape it herself. The statue showed a human man and a small alien girl, standing side by side, their hands touching the same glowing orb between them. Beneath it, engraved in both languages, were the same words: "Together we heal." When it was done, Lyra stood before it as the sun set behind the towers. The light turned gold and blue, the same colors that had filled the old workshop. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You did it, Evan. You saved them. You saved us." As the night deepened, she returned to the underground lab, her new home. The core glowed softly in the darkness, breathing like a living being. The room no longer felt cold or empty. It felt alive, full of warmth and quiet power. She sat near the console, opening the crystal her father left behind. The hologram flickered again, showing her father smiling. She placed a small photo beside it, a print of Evan she had taken from the workshop's old records. "You're both together now," she whispered. Then she opened her notebook and began to write. A new record, a new beginning. The human named Evan came to Virene as a stranger. He left as our savior. The ether core lives on as proof that when two worlds stand together, even death cannot end their bond. My father's dream is no longer just his, it's ours. And his words will guide the next generation. Together, we heal. Her voice wavered as she finished, but a soft light flickered around her, as if the core itself was listening and approving. Years later, the city of Virene would grow into the first true mixed colony, humans and aliens working side by side. They would teach the story of the core in every school, and every child, no matter their race, would learn the name Evan, the human who gave everything so they could live. And at the heart of the city, the statue remained, glowing each night when the two suns fell. Visitors from across galaxies came to see it, to feel its peace. Some said they could still hear a voice in the wind, gentle and human, whispering through the streets, "Don't give up, keep healing." Lyra would sometimes stand before the monument, her silver hair now longer, her eyes wiser. Every night she placed a small flower at the base of the statue, a symbol of remembrance and hope. "Good night, Evan," she would say softly. "Your story isn't over. It lives in all of us now." The wind would stir, carrying her words across the bright, healed city, and somewhere deep beneath the ground in the heart of the ether core, a faint pulse answered her, steady, eternal, like the heartbeat of two souls bound forever by one promise. Together, we heal.